Hello everyone. I'd like to speak to you on a subject that is kind of near and dear to me. Is addiction a choice or is it a disease? Behaviors that lead up to addiction are chosen. However, if indulgence is repeated, it can then become abuse, causing a whirlwind, and then you no longer have a choice, according to North Point Recovery. Dramatic changes that take place in the brain increase dopamine and serotonin. Now, these are the chemicals in your brain that make you feel good and help you to experience security. Genetics and environment factors play equal roles in the onset of addiction, according to the NCAD. If you live in an environment where everybody says, hey, it's okay to go ahead and use drugs or use alcohol or just whatever, it's okay. That's the environment. Genetics you can't do anything about, but only 50% of the time is genetics involved in it. Addiction is a disease that begins with a choice. Abuse is repeated, and then there's no choice because of the chemical changes to the brain. Dr. Thomas McClellan, he's a PhD, and he is the former deputy director of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, and he's also the co-founder of the Treatment Center, cited many experts confirmed that addiction is a disease. A few examples would be the American Medical Association, the World Health Organization, the American Public Association, just to name a few. When addiction is mentioned, the most commonly thought of is substance alcohol abuse. There are many other addictions though, such as gambling, porn, exercise, internet, video games, food addictions. The list can go on and on. North Point Recovery states that behavior addicts usually struggle with substance abuse as well. I have personally struggled with a food addiction. I've had weight issues all of my life, and I found security and comfort in food. I would just eat even though I wasn't hungry because I wanted to feel like I was in control of something. Food was my security blanket. Then I started having health issues and self-esteem problems from being so heavy. Fortunately, I now have a handle on my weight, but the desire to use food sometimes as a safe haven is still very strong. The importance of addressing this issue is to bring awareness that most addictions begin as a choice. If done repeatedly, they can become abused and take control of a person, and then it's at this point that addiction becomes a disease. Some of the medically diagnosed symptoms of addiction is the inability to abstain, dysfunctional emotional response, increased cravings, diminished capacity to recognize consequences, and impaired behavior control. Addiction is a chronic, often relapsing brain disease. According to Gene Heyman, he's a professor of psychology, mind, and brain behavior at Harvard University. Is addiction a disease or a choice? Consider that substance abuse disorder changes the brain's reward circuitry, which reinforces substance abuse's positive behavior that should be repeated. Addiction motivates a person to stay addicted, according to Dr. John Sharp. Addiction, it is a disease that begins with choices. Whether, say, you've had surgery or you're in a lot of pain because you've injured yourself and you start out on pain medications. You're starting out as a choice, but as time goes on, it makes you feel so good that you take more and more and more, and then all of a sudden it's spinning out of control. You have no control over it. You have intense cravings. You feel like that you must have this drug in order to even function, because your brain has changed. the dopamine and the serotonin has kicked in. You need to realize also too that all addictions are connected to mental impairment that cause repeated usage because of the pleasurable feelings and the sense of security that you get. Like I was with food. That was a comfort for me. Food didn't talk back to me. But then it got to a point to where it did. So, addiction is a serious thing. And you can't get over addictions, I don't believe, without having professional help. Thank you for your time.